Yeah, look, the Chinese benefited greatly from American, Japanese, Korean, European companies going to their market, and we split the profits with them. We gave them our technology, and now a lot is happening that's squeezing out all those foreign interlopers, and they have tons of excess capacity in China. I mean, we're talking tens of millions of vehicles in excess capacity,
Wow.
and they don't want to lay Chinese workers off. The governments there are willing to absorb some losses, but they want to turn the country into a giant export base. That, of course, would be at the expense of everybody making and selling vehicles in the US, in Europe, Southeast Asia, where Toyota does a lot of business. So, yeah, everybody feels threatened by this. The Chinese government subsidizes its companies in other ways, like free land, paying for factories, funding R&D, and the governments, local and national, own some of these companies, and they're willing to absorb losses while they all go for market share. They're getting subsidies in every way possible, and the foreign governments are saying enough is enough here, and we're not going to just give our car market away to a Chinese export giant.
So, why is the EU voting to impose these tariffs now? Bring us up to speed in kind of the context here and the relationship between the EU and China.
Yeah, look, the EU years ago decided diesel wasn't their thing for clean air, and they really pushed for adoption of EVs. And the Chinese seized on that, and they've been growing a lot of market share in all the different European markets within the EU. And that does hurt the domestic companies. Interestingly, with this vote, Germany voted against it, which I thought was kind of fascinating in the sense that this sounds like a very tactical vote by the Germans, because they probably knew that there'd be enough votes to implement the tariff. By voting against it, they signaled to China that they're open for business, and they need that because Volkswagen, Mercedes, and BMW are big players in the Chinese market, and they don't want to be penalized there for what the EU governments are doing.
Interesting. So, if I am a Western automaker, whether it's Volkswagen or Ford, David, how do I think about the Chinese market? Is that an opportunity for me? Or is that more of a risk here?
Look, it's going away,
Okay.
I think it's a matter of time before the Western companies are mostly squeezed out. I mean, you have two factors at play. One is the Chinese product, the domestic product's very good. So it's tough to compete there. They have a cost advantage because of the subsidies, but also because labor is cheap. Arguably, Western companies enjoy some of that, which is cheap labor, but they don't necessarily benefit from all the government subsidies and money for factories, money for R&D, and so forth. But the Chinese government is increasingly pressuring people to buy domestic, and the product is good. So you're seeing market share losses from everybody. GM's market share is down by a third. Volkswagen's taken a hit. Hyundai's down like 80% because there was tension between the South Korean government and China's government in the South China Sea a couple of years ago. And then suddenly nobody wanted to buy Hyundais and Kias in China. So you see a lot of these domestic pressures in China against foreign nameplates. And it's just tougher and tougher for everyone to do business there.